declare the meeting open. This ordinary meeting. Thank you to members of the public for coming along as well. Before I get into the meeting fully, I want to make a statement on these. So, a bit of background. Good evening all. Before the meeting starts fully, I would like to make a statement for the benefit of the community and the new councillors on the proposed new surgery. As many of you know, I myself only joined in March this year and was only elected chairman in May. So this is also an opportunity for me to make sure that the facts, as I understand them, are correct. I'll be reading this out first to make sure I do not miss anything, but also to stop me from saying something that may be considered commercially sensitive. 10 years ago, Felton Parish Council acquired the land in front of the lay-by near Benwell Grove from Northumberland County Council explicitly for the purpose of building a new doctor's surgery. For whatever reason, that surgery was not built. In the meantime, Bellway purchased the land that the new estate now sits on. However, that land required access across the land Felton Parish Council had been given for the surgery. As part of the agreement for access to the new estate, Bellway offered to provide alternative land for a doctor's surgery. The land Bellway was offering was supposed to have 4 affordable houses on it. So as compensation to the community for not building those houses, it had to make what is known as an S106 payment, which would be used towards the cost of the new surgery. This S106 payment was for £250,000. Whilst Felton Parish Council do not hold this S106 money, it is held by Northumberland County Council, it was a payment to the community in exchange for the community losing out on 4 affordable homes for local families. So morally, it can be considered as our money, or your money. Going back to the land itself, if you take the cost Bellway paid for the whole development, divide that by the number of properties initially proposed, it roughly works out to be £25,000 per plot. Therefore, the land Felton Parish Council will be given has a nominal value of £100,000. So, to clarify, Felton Parish Council are effectively giving the doctors, and by extension the developers, £350,000 towards the cost of the new surgery. £100,000 for the land they will not have to purchase, and £250,000 of S106 money. Now, despite the fact that Felton Parish Council will be the owners of the land, and in effect, in a way, the S106 money, we have not been involved in as much of the decision process as we would have liked or expected. In fact, despite the initial project initiation document listed us as stakeholders, we were not given a copy of that document once finalised, and indeed subsequent project initiation documents have removed us as stakeholders. At this point, I must stress that the only reason the Council are aware of and have even seen a lot of these documents involved is thanks to a Freedom of Information request from an ordinary member of the public in the village. Another document gained through Freedom of Information that the Council has seen relating to the build has assumptions that the Council are just going to hand the land over completely to the developers. This has never been the case, and in fact a resolution was passed by Felton Parish Council to only offer the land on a long-term lease. Leasing the land will ensure Felton Parish Council can dictate what it can and can't be used for, and in this case, purely for a doctor's surgery. Whilst some may argue we could hand the land over with covenants and restrictions in place, you need to be aware that a developer could buy out those restrictions or even apply for them to be overturned. Therefore, it could be that the land wouldn't be used for a surgery or could be changed in 20 to 25 years' time at the end of the proposed contract. Hence, why FPC are only considering offering the land as leasehold to keep that element of control. Felton Parish Council did make some assumptions of its own, but this was only because, as mentioned earlier, we were not involved in the decision process. And one of those assumptions was that either the doctors themselves would be paying for the new surgery, which is quite often the norm, or would receive rent from the National Health Service for their own property, which in effect would pay their mortgage. Or the NHS would build the surgery and allow the doctor to use it at nominal cost. If either of these had been the case, then Felton Parish Council would happily consider offering the lease of the land at no or very little charge. However, we only later discovered that a FTSE 250 company was for developers and would therefore be taking all the rent that the NHS would be paying and would ultimately be making a profit for themselves. Be under no illusions, no FTSE company does anything to make a loss. The council have been aware of even more documentation, and this shows the rent the developers could expect, which is not unsubstantial, and which would be paid by the NHS and therefore ultimately you as taxpayers. Felton Parish Council's position is that as the parish are putting up about a quarter of the build costs, the parish should be entitled to a share of that rental. At the moment, we are waiting, as we have been for some time, for the doctors and developers to approach us to start negotiations. In the meantime, you should be aware that the doctors and developers, despite the letter you may have seen today, are still getting all the permissions and agreements from the CCG and planning departments that they need for the build to go ahead. I would like to assure parish members and council members that the Felton Parish Council are extremely keen for the new doctor's surgery to be built. But we also feel that you, as the community, deserve value for your money, for the contributions of the use of the land and the S106 money, which is morally the community's. To speed things up from our end, we are hoping to achieve, one of the things we are hoping to achieve from today's meeting is to agree to go ahead with the transfer of land from Belway into Felton Parish Council's hands as soon as possible, so that we are ready to move as soon as the developers have all their planning permissions, etc. sorted. I apologise that the meetings have been closed, or have to be closed. We will endeavour to limit this as much as possible, especially going forward, but I hope you understand it is wrong for us to make public commercial information whilst planning and negotiations are still ongoing. Thank you. I would now like to ask if any of the councillors have anything to add that I may have missed, or correct anything they feel I may misunderstand. Thank you. We'll crack on with the meeting now. So, item 1, apologies for absence.
Councillors Walton and Smith.
Agenda 2, declarations of interest. Before I go on to 3, I want to propose a resolution that I do not believe number 4 has anything in it that needs to be excluded from the public, because all we're discussing is ourselves when we transfer the land. So I would like to propose a resolution that we move that ahead of number 3. Do I have a second for that at all? Thank you. So the resolution is we move number 4 ahead of number 3, so we hold it in open meeting. All those in favour? Thank you. In that case, item 4, new surgery. To resolve to complete transfer of land as soon as possible and agree any associated actions. Can I just say that from my point of view, as I've stated in my statement, I do not see any reason why we should not now take ownership of this land as soon as possible. I think it's in our interest for 2 reasons. One, it means we're ready to go as soon as the developers get all their go ahead. And the second, sorry, I'll just I'll come on to the second in a minute, so it's just sitting on my mind. But certainly, so we're ready to go. It would also mean that there is potentially some confusion over how much of the land we are getting. There are different maps out there, so we clear up that confusion. The only downside I can see to us taking control of the land is it means we take responsibility now, or as soon as we get control of it, for maintaining it. But I do not think that is unsurmountable. I'm sure we can arrange somebody to cut the grass once a month or something like that. So So I throw this open to anybody if they have any objections as to why the council should not proceed with trying to take control of the land now, or any reason why it should.
I think we would have taken control of it having been for COVID. We would have just put on hold.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was a delay with the transfer, but I think the comments we got, the last set of comments we got back sort of have dealt with some of ours and said, I mean, that's with Martin now.
So I propose a resolution that the council proceed with taking over control of the land from Bellways as soon as possible. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you, that's passed. Okay, back to 3, resolution to exclude public and press. Unfortunately, some of what we're about to discuss, I think, does contain information that's commercially sensitive, or will contain names and things like that. I'm just explaining to the public why we're going through this. Felton Parish Council will be invited to pass a resolution under Section 1, brackets 2 of the Public Bodies Admissions to Meeting Act 1960 to exclude public and press due to the confidential nature of the business to be discussed, which is commercially sensitive. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you. Unfortunately, that's been passed. I appreciate where you're coming from. So I now will have to, I'm afraid, ask members of the public to leave the meeting. As I say, I do apologise, and we will try and keep as much open as possible.